there! Today we will be playing with the beautiful stamps from the My Monthly Hero kit for June 2018. Unfortunately, this kit has sold out, but I hope my ideas can be translated to many different stamp sets and inks. My motto is always think outside of the box. Watch this video and check out the accompanying blog post to see how I was able to take this kit in several unique directions. First, let me introduce you to a rainbow of Hero Arts ink colors I chose to stamp with today, as seen in a trio of rainbow cards that starts us off. For the first card, I stamped each of the little Adirondack chairs in neon pink, tangerine, lemon yellow, neon green, deep ocean from the kit, and orchid. I then die cut them and placed foam squares on each of them. I took my top folding card base and placed it in my MISTI, using my acetate grid to determine the placement of my sentiment. I then stamped the sentiment in soft gray ink from the kit. I know this is a light color for a sentiment, but I really wanted the rainbow of chairs to be my main focus on the card. I then took my MISTI ruler from the MISTI Creative Corners kit and used it to line up the chairs evenly across my card. After attaching the chairs to this card, it was done. It really turned out the way I wanted. It's all about those adorable Adirondack chairs. Continuing with the rainbow theme, I used secondhand stamping to create the layered effect of these beautiful clouds. I'm obsessed with these clouds, as you'll see in a few other cards. They are incredibly versatile, stamped together or alone. Here's an example of how I stamped the clouds. For the light color, I inked up the cloud with lots of ink and stamped off once on a scrap paper. I then stamped on the cardstock. When stamping this example, I didn't clean my stamp off enough beforehand. The resulting cloud took my breath away. It's so pretty with shades of orange and pink, more inspiration for another card later. I then inked up the detail stamp with the same ink color, but skipped the stamping off part and stamped on the cloud image. I repeated the process for each of my rainbow colors and then die cut the clouds. I trimmed a 4 1/4 inch side of a top folding vertical A2 card to 3 3/4 inches so that I could let the clouds hang over the side and it would still fit in an A2 envelope. After figuring out my placement, I stamped the sentiment in VersaFine Onyx Black ink and then attached each of the clouds with foam tape for dimension. The only trimming I did was the bottom purple one. This last card in my rainbow trio is this cute little number that I created by taking an A2 card base and stamping the bird cluster stamp from the kit in my rainbow of colors down the page to create a pattern background. I then placed a 4 1/4 inch by 5 1/2 inch piece of paper in the MISTI and centered the hello stamp at 2 3/4 inches. I stamped my first hello in yellow and then moved the paper 3/4 inch up because that is the spacing I come up with because the stamp is a 1/2 inch tall. And I wanted a space between the words. I repeated this process for the green, blue, and purple and then reversed it for the orange and pink. I then trimmed the panel with a small gap around the words and then created a black mat to frame the panel. I then popped the panel up in the middle of the card using foam tape. I had so much fun creating this panel for the next two cards. I took the neon pink, lemon yellow, and tangerine inks and used the detail layer of the large cloud. I started by randomly stamping the yellow 5 times around the page and then repeated it with the tangerine and the pink. I really love the pink, so I finished up by filling in any spare gaps with more of it. I then took 2 rectangles from the Hero Arts Rectangle Infinity dies and carefully cut a frame out of the center. The result was 3 panels that I could make 1 to 3 cards from. I am making 2 cards today. This first one, using the frame, a sentiment from the Acts of Kindness stamp set, and a grouping of palm trees from the kit, and another, using the 2 remaining frames, another one of those adorable chairs, and some pretty gold mirror mats to frame my sentiment and my chair. And now it's time to play with the layering ocean stamps. I'm an ocean girl at heart, having grown up in Sydney, Australia, so these stamps really speak to me. I wanted to go out of the box with this first card, so I went with the pink, yellow, and orange once again. I stamped all 3 at the bottom of the page and then flipped the stamp and repeated the process upside down, overlapping the first set. In VersaFine Onyx Black ink, I stamped the dolphin and sailboat from the kit. I used a small piece of tape to mask off the dolphin tail so it looks like it's dancing in the water. The other sailboat and the O Ship stamp came from the Hero Arts Enjoy the Journey stamp set. I stamped the I Forgot Your Birthday stamp inside to complete the sentiment. I then stamped a variety of clouds in orange and pink. To create the sun, I masked off a circle and used the yellow ink and a sponge. I trimmed my A2 stamped panel to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches and matted a black piece of cardstock behind to finish this card. To create this next card, I used the same method to create 2 identical panels. I stamped with the Deep Ocean, Summer Sky, and Soft Sky inks from the kit. After the 2 panels were stamped, I trimmed them down to 4 1/8 inch wide, and then just above and below the dark blue line on the panels. In this instance, they are both about 2.5 inches tall. I stamped the Thinking of You sentiment from the kit on the card base in Deep Ocean ink and secured the panels around the sentiment with foam tape. A simple decoration of 2 starfish from the kit to highlight the sentiment was a wonderful finishing touch. And now for my favorite card from this kit so far. I've been playing with the new Nuvo blending sponges and thought this would be a great use for them. I have a sponge dedicated to each of the color families and another for when I'm blending multiple colors together. I placed a 4 1/4 inch by 5 1/2 inch panel of Bristol Smooth cardstock on my craft mat and started my blending with the neon pink ink. I start off the page and then move on very lightly, patiently building up my color. I then move to the tangerine and the yellow, working down to where the ocean will be. I use the blending sponge in between each layer and over the pink at the top to create more whimsy in the sky. I then stamped the ocean on the bottom. After I'm done with this first layer, I take a large circle mask and apply it centered towards the bottom of the card, just below the waterline. I then sponge around the circle, except for the part under the water, first with a generous amount of yellow and then a small amount of orange. The magic happens when I remove the mask, and there it is, the beautiful sun. The third layer of this card consists of the flock of birds stamped in pink over the sun, and the solid clouds stamped around and over the sun in a variety of the 3 ink colors. I stamped and embossed the sentiment on some vellum paper in gold and trimmed it down to fit on the front of the card. I decided to play around with this card design to make it a bit more fun and unexpected. I wanted a thin white border to frame the decorated panel over an A2 sized black mat. I switched it up by making a 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch top folding vertical card and trimming the decorated panel down to 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/8 inches to allow for my thin white border. I then attached the completed card onto the black mat, which became the back of the card. This stamp set was wonderful for making incredibly clean and simple cards. I like to make these every now and again because it reminds me that card making doesn't have to be time-consuming. You can make wonderful cards in minutes with just ink, stamp, and the right paper. These are always good to have on hand. Even if you don't have this stamp set, check out what you have and see if you can create an ocean. For example, I was able to replicate the ocean by sponging the bottom layer and using a stamp from the Hero Arts Blue Whale stamp set stamped in 2 different colors. It turned out perfect. So there you have it, me thinking outside the box. I created cards using a rainbow color theme, a piece of patterned paper created with 1 stamp and 3 inks, stamping the ocean in different colors, using the ocean for something other than the ocean, lots and lots of sponging, and quick and simple cards with just stamps and ink. Which one is your favorite? For more information, please visit my blog at www.perkypennypapers.com and follow my Instagram at perkypennypapers. If you enjoy this video, please like it and share it, and subscribe to my channel to see when new videos are uploaded. A list of supplies is available in the description of this video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today.